Did I tell you? I don't even know what was on the show. Oh. How about now?
Yes, that sounds like we can hear me.
Did I tell you?
That's one way to run the show with my mic off.
Did I tell you that the unfair criticism I received from one of our friends, Michael J. Montante?
No.
He tweeted me.
Mm-hmm. He tweeted you?
Yes.
And then what happened next?
9:06 on Wednesday.
Okay.
Is when I got on. I did one of the Manners Network shows, the mini hand shows.
Oh, right.
Right. And so Michael Montante, a friend, has been on this show. We had a global debate on Ukraine.
We value his foreign policy analysis here on the Burn Barrel.
He called me and I texted him and said, I'm on the network. He said, you have a vocal crutch that has been driving me insane that I just heard again. Call me when you can, so I can try to improve you. He said, oh, wait, is this live? I said, yes. And he said, okay, I thought it was whatever. He then called me and said, you have to stop saying etc. You have to stop saying etc. You say it too much. Then he tweeted me and he sent me a text saying, you'd be on Fox now if you didn't say that word without realizing. Now that I've said this, it's going to drive you mad at how much you say it. Then he listened in and he said to the rest of the show, he was getting me during the show, he said, you said it again, twice in 14 minutes so far. That's no good. This is no good. Then he's counting in. He said, fourth, etc., 38 minutes in. SMH. Then today at 10:04 a.m., he texted me, etceteras. Sunday, 9. Monday, 3. Progress. And I said, that's unadulterated PS. You know. So then today, during my show, my radio show, I get this call from a caller who calls in fairly frequently.
Okay.
And has the temerity, Alice, to say this to me. Not sexy cars, certainly not. Hold on. Hold on, Morgan. Take off. Morgan's still going. Here we go. Thanks, Adam. Let's go right back to the phone, shall we? Rob and Meriden. Rob, what's going on?
Hello. Hey, I just got a little criticism, if you like it or hate
Please,
it. You know?
I was hoping.
Etc. You say it awful lot, which is good. Or
You're
whatever.
not really saying that, are you?
You say etc. a very lot.
Did you know that?
I did not notice that, to be honest with you. But I mean, like,
this is too. Oh, that's the wrong cough button. Sorry, I notice. Like there are things that I do that I notice that, like, I notice that I clear my throat and cough, and then I can try to avoid it. Like what?
You make that little noise with your mouth.
Is that?
You make some little noise.
Is that
I
audible?
can't even do it.
That's audible?
I think so. It's audible to me, but I'm in the room with you.
I notice other things that I work on, but I've never noticed me saying etc. I've never.
I didn't notice that you do that either, to be honest. It's one of those things, like, everybody who comes in this studio, who's, like, friends with us, who watches the show on YouTube, tries to sit in your chair and put their arm here. And they're like, did I do it just like Tom does? And I'm like, I never noticed that you do that, but apparently you do. You put your arm, like, across your chest a lot.
Yeah, I've seen it in video. I don't know.
So for people that watch on video, that's always, like, they think it's, like, a thing that you do. It's like, look, I'm Tom. And one of the ways they do their Tom Shattuck impression is they put their arm across their chest.
All right. No matter. Those two people are, one, banned from both shows, and two are absolute liars because I don't say etc. But, so today, let's get right into
what context do you even say etc.? I don't even know.
These people don't know what of what they speak. So today was Karoline Leavitt's coming out party. The administration...
I think it's Caroline, isn't it?
Caroline... It doesn't matter. The administration has hit a... she's not Howie's daughter, is she? Because he has a daughter, Caroline.
I don't think she is. I think we would have heard about that before, like when she ran for Congress and stuff. No, I don't think she is.
I'm going to check that.
I don't think that she is, to be honest with you. See, look, now I say, to be honest with you. Now I'm noticing things that I say. It's making me uncomfortable. I don't want to think about criticisms like that. Is she Howie's daughter?
I don't know. There's no way
I
to
don't think that she's Howie's daughter.
tell. Okay. Karoline Leavitt, okay. It's not. She's not. Okay.
I don't think she is.
She is, though, fantastic. And a caller called up today and said, it's so nice to see a well-spoken young woman speak off the cuff today with beautiful blonde hair. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And a cross. And she wears a cross.
Mm-hmm.
But she was absolutely dynamic.
Better or as good as Kayleigh McEnany?
In the mold. In the same mold.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations?
This is about freezing up Medicaid, which a judge just blew away tonight. Medicare, federal loans, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't actually apply to Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security, but it somehow triggered the Medicaid facilitation to be delayed. So it was kind of it didn't work. Either somebody sabotaged it successfully, or it was just whatever.
More time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time.
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. Just during this pause, DOJ and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOJ and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
Line items of wasted, absurdly spent money are good messaging. It absolutely is.
Yeah, because nobody wants to be the person who goes to the mat defending condoms for Gaza.
Exactly. Although, with who's left on the left right now, what I'm seeing, there are two different kind of people left on the left. And I'm using your friend, former friend, high school classmate, to see. There's the kind of people who are taking to the streets and are getting cute, warm winter boots, panicking,
right.
Sending out information how to stop the incursions. And then the other kind is her, like your friend, who is saying, stop reporting there's ICE sightings. You're getting people to panic. So both are sources of negative outcomes, because one person is panicking and the other person is trying to tell them to stop panicking and stop making more panic, but neither are emotionally healthy. And you're seeing a whole bunch of that out there. But I just want to get through some more Karoline Leavitt cuts here, because, by the way, it's incredible to me. We'll just go through an order here.
How is the left reacting to Karoline Leavitt?
I haven't seen.
Do they notice the difference between somebody who can answer questions and somebody who can't answer questions? I'm sure they're not admitting it out loud. But...
No, she's not checked a trapper keeper. Well, what I want to see, and you and I have been moving today, is there's got to be some side-by-sides. So Karoline Leavitt broke the drone information.
Oh, really?
Yes, she aired out the drone information, and remember, all you had was Karine Jean-Pierre obfuscating, hiding, being unclear, going back to the trapper keeper, and never giving us any answers. Here's Karoline Leavitt.
After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. And with that, I will turn it over.
So, wow.
Tommy in New Hampshire says, not really. Like, that he doesn't feel that she really answered the question.
Well, at least it was. I have other people as well who don't believe, just like Tommy, that they're being straight. But she kind of did answer the question. She said, "These are FA drones." And maybe I have the two shorter.
By the way, speaking of the government being straight with us, did you see Chris Celiza's big confession?
Oh yeah, I was wrong about everything. There's a lot about that. The other, well, she said, I don't know if she said in this, that it was research and whatever.
Yeah.
At least that's something. We were not. Imagine a government that actually trusts you with inside information. Can you imagine? I'm looking for you to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a thing. Like the JFK assassination, like all these things. I do think that there's an element here that's never going to be satisfied that they have the right answers, especially if the answers aren't what they think that they were.
I understand that's human nature, and if you've been watching politics for the last 8 years, then if you're a conspiracy theorist, then that is sound footing. Well,
yeah, but I just think that I think the government has lost so much credibility at this point that Trump releasing the JFK files is not going to be enough. If there's nothing in the JFK files, then people are going to say there's stuff he didn't release.
Sure.
Right? Like, I think that the government's believability is so in the toilet at this point that there's nothing that they can do that even Trump can release and show everybody that will satisfy people because people have believed the government and been burned before. So if you already have a tendency to go towards conspiracy theories, like you say, it's been the decade for conspiracy theories, the last decade. And the Chris Celiza thing, can I read some of his thing? So he did a big he has a big tweet about how he got it wrong with the lab leak theory, that the CIA now believes the lab leak theory and all this stuff. And he essentially says, I got it wrong. Here's why I got it wrong and what I'm going to do to get it right in the future. All of this stuff. I screwed up back in May of 2020. I wrote how Anthony Fauci had crushed Donald Trump's lab leak theory and how COVID-19 originated. A few thoughts. My belief back then was that if this was a debate between Donald Trump and Anthony Fauci on the origins of a pandemic-level virus, I was going to go with the guy who had spent his entire career studying this stuff, not the reality TV star turned president. Except now it appears that the reality TV star turned president was right and Anthony Fauci is wrong. Here are the wrong assumptions I made. First and most importantly, I deferred to expert voices at a moment when even they were making it up on the fly.
How friggy. F you, Celiza.
That's
Fauci
not to say Fauci
did a 180 in front of you and bragged about it with the masking.
That's not to say that Fauci didn't believe that COVID-19 had originated in a wet market. I think he did. But I should have been more aware of the fact that Fauci, like the rest of us, was dealing with something he had never seen before.
That's like the rest of us. Can you imagine the idea that you would... And
then he goes on to say that Trump lies a lot, so he didn't... So he thought
that
maybe...
plays in perfectly with this next cut. But it's this whole thing of course, I'm going to, by default, we're defending the establishment. Always. No, the FEMA's doing fine in North Carolina. Several public officials have said it's fine.
But there's a whole bunch
You don't see several public officials. No, there's no problem in Springfield, wherever, with eating cats and dogs. The mayor's people said that it's not happening. So, okay. Oh, well then.
There's a whole bunch of people, though, who believe that because somebody they think is really smart, or who, even worse, just somebody that is really credentialed says something, it makes it so. And the truth is that the world is full of sometimes well-meaning, sometimes not well-meaning, credentialed, expert, very smart idiots.
Yes,
who get stuff wrong constantly every single
Francis
day.
Collins with his guitar and his wife swimming by. Peter Hotez.
So I went to a nerdy camp where I took a physics class in the summer one year. It was called the Center for Talented Youth.
Oh, what a jerk you are. Wow.
I had to take the SAT in 7th grade to get into it.
Oh, man, you must have been the queen of the cake party in high school.
But one time there was not graffiti because people
Jesus.
weren't really that edgy, but chalk graffiti at the camp that said,
Did the Center for Talented Youth go into lockdown?
that said, if we're talented, the world is doomed. And I think about that sometimes, that if we're talented, the world is doomed, because the smartest people out there are not that freaking smart. They're just doing stuff.
Yes.
The world favors people who go out and do things. Look at Elon Musk. He's not necessarily the smartest guy in every room, but he's a guy who tries a lot of stuff, and he's smart, and a lot of it works. But we let ourselves get tricked into thinking there's like some secret or magic to credentials and job titles and, important words for stuff, fancy names for things, etc. And it's just like it's just not true. It's just people running everything, and a lot of them are dumb. And
Yes,
even the smart ones are dumb. If we're talented, the world is doomed. Like, I do think that. And like, when you think back to your high school experience and you think like, okay, those are the people who actually like run everything now, or the people I went to high school with. And you went to high school in a town where the high school was considered pretty good, as did I. And like the Center for Talented Youth people and whatever else, like those are the people running everything. There's no magic. Nobody, when those people got into the government, nobody gave them a secret briefing and taught them how everything works. So this deference to expertise is just so wrong and so off, and it infects everything.
Well, I think, and that's where the connection is made, the cohesion is made with media and all these credentialed people, because the media is now all credentialed. They go to Ivy League schools. They go to really good schools. A lot of them are lawyers now, etc. Oh, my God, etc.
Yeah.
A lot of them are lawyers now, and other professions, as a matter of fact. And so you have these people who went to Columbia University who look at Dr. Fauci and say, wow, he's got stuff after his name. I have stuff after my name. He's somebody I'll listen to, that we'll listen to. And they also, there's a total elitism too, because they look at Trump people and they say, okay, I'm a good person, so I'm not going to call them white trash. I will say that they're probably, let's say, benefit of the doubt, because I went to a good school and I have a mansion, so I should probably show some empathy to my fellow man who's not as smart as me, but is voting for Trump because he doesn't know how to vote in his best interest. Okay, he's voting for Trump not because he's bad, but because the corner store owner now looks different than he used to 50 years ago. And that's them being benevolent,
Right.
which they feel is something that they need to do symbolically anyway, because they have a good education and they have all the trappings and they're doing everything right. Because if I wasn't doing everything right, I wouldn't have a $3 million home and 2 Range Rovers and all the other things.
That's the most dangerous thing, is when people think that about themselves.
Oh, yes.
Wow, I must be really brilliant.
Yes.
I went to a very good college. But it happens everywhere. People make a lot of money or get a fancy degree and they think they're like a really smart person. And I mean, when you were at the Herald, you edited columns from some people who had been told they were very smart and sent stuff into you and were clearly just couldn't string 2 thoughts together in a row. They were dumb people. And I mean, our government is full of them, the government especially, but every institution of higher education, the more engineering STEM type fields are the most resistant to it because those are the hardest ones to deny results.
Well, right. But at the same time, they are, what you find is this veneer, especially when people go to fancy colleges, any college really, but fancy ones, this veneer of an acumen for the right, most progressive language, all the woke language, ways to speak in code, centering people, stakeholders. So you're saying it, and as long as you can say that and use all this language, kiddos, then then you're not to be questioned. Anything else, because you're speaking the language. You're speaking the language of somebody who spent 4 years steeping in this progressive woke idiocy, and it's what which what polite society does. Smart, polite society.
Right. Sometimes I think smarter, technically on paper people, like high IQ people, are almost more susceptible to being able to convince themselves of insane things.
Completely agree. Look at Paul Krugman. He's an economist. Like, he's good at something. Of the New York Times. And the other economists, too. Like, they're good at something. Their columns are absurd because they're not doing the thing they're good at.
Right.
Because they're being political and cultural columnists when they should not be.
Yeah.
They're simply, if you get the most brilliant man in a room and he's convinced himself that Hitler's in the White House, he's going to be erratic. And that's what these people act like. And the big problem is with COVID is that we filled these institutions, the CDC and the FDA, we filled them with people who we had been told had trained to make sure that we were never dealing with pandemics. And if we were, it wasn't going to hit us like it hit everybody else because we're the United States and these buildings have thousands of people in them. And then you find out it was abject just incompetence. Didn't have masks. They couldn't fill up the mask. I forgot what it's called. Not the archives, but the mask, stores of masks have been depleted for 15 years. There weren't enough ventilators, which we found out, of course, that we didn't want.
Stockpile.
Right, stockpiles, exactly. It's like, no, all you people, so you've just been giving TED Talks and going to...
Well, but that stuff is everywhere. And, you see it right now already, and this is sort of a transition to something else I kind of want to talk about.
Well, I don't want to leave quite yet because there's one more media cut that's very pertinent.
Okay, so we'll do the media cut, and then I do want to switch gears a little bit because I think this is relevant to another conversation, too.
This is, by the way, Karoline Leavitt, if it was up to me, she could have taken a cinder block and thrown it at this guy's head, this reporter. How effing dare you?
Thanks, Karoline. A question that we've asked your predecessors of both parties in this job. When you're
I don't believe that, by the way. I don't believe that was asked to both parties and predecessors.
Here in this briefing room, speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as advocating on behalf of the president or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people?
I commit to tell.
F you, dude. The freaking show rodeo clown that just left that position lied to you for 4 years that the president was competent. She was part of a conspiracy of liars who lied, and you fucking idiots bought it the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you think they asked Karine Jean-Pierre right after she was done with I'm standing on the on the shoulders of those women before me, LGBTQ, this is historic. You think they then asked her this question? No.
No, and more to the point, too, is they can sit here all day like Crystalisa and be like, you know what? I got it wrong, and I'm going to examine my practices so that I don't get it wrong again. Until they address this Biden thing and why they helped cover that up, and until they hold some people like Karine Jean-Pierre and even Psaki, by the way, accountable.
Of course.
Because he wasn't competent when Psaki was the press secretary either, which is probably part of why she got out of there.
Well, she was always going to get out of there.
No,
but maybe it's probably why. You're right.
She didn't want to be stuck with that freaking administration after seeing it in action. Until they start really asking those people hard questions, I won't believe that they intend to change at all.
Totally agree.
Telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up Truth Seek, I would like to point out, while I vowed to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House. So, yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same.
Now, before we move along, I just want to quickly get to, and a good example is is, by the way, Jim Acosta stepped down today because they put him in the overnight shift, and he said he spoke truth to power, of course, of this whole thing. But Jake Tapper once again found himself forced to have to speak to Trump administration people, even though he said he'd never speak to them because they were liars.
Right.
So he speaks to Stephen Miller, and Stephen Miller is the border guy who's got a presence about him.
He's evil.
He's a vampire.
He has that vibe that he's, the evil mastermind behind the evil Trump plans and Project 2025 and all of that.
He's also got a much bigger brain than Jake Tapper.
And I want to really drill down on this, Jake, because it's so important. There's 2 million employees in the federal government. Overwhelmingly, the career federal service in this country is far left wing. The American people.
I don't know that to be a fact.
Well, I'll give you a great example. We looked at USAID as an example.
That's
98% of the workforce either donated to Kamala Harris or another left-wing candidate, just as an example.
Okay, but
let me just
an entire workforce as having a
whoa. Did you just say that saying someone voted for Kamala Harris is demonizing them?
No.
So according
your suggestion is that there's a bias.
No, but you used the word demonizing. You just said that.
This is your suggestion. There's a bias in government workers. Wow, Jake.
I'm demonizing somebody by saying they voted for Kamala Harris.
Let's get back on track.
But I am on track.
Tapper is exasperated. He does this. Let's go. Because he doesn't want to have him on.
Okay.
Let me stay on track. What I'm saying to you is this. There are 2 million employees in the federal government.
Right.
They're overwhelmingly left of center. The American people, I got to finish the sentence.
Okay.
I got to finish the sentence. The American people voted for dramatic change implemented by Donald Trump. So it is essential for him to get control of government, to establish a whole of government process for Donald Trump's political appointees to review discretionary grants of spending.
And I just want to hit one more cut with those two because it's too great.
A question about, because one of the reasons that President Trump got elected, according to President Trump in an interview, I think it was with Kristen Welker of NBC, was because of grocery prices. Not the only reason, but a reason: high prices, inflation, especially at the grocery. The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022, 42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do. So how does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake. You're just asking the question that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden flights. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 illegal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones.
I will give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want on this. I'm explaining to you and your audience.
I don't have a third. I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you
explaining
can come back
to you
and we
your
can talk
audience.
about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They're in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws, and as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
So let me tell you what's going to happen, and that's it for that. Jake Tapper, first, CNN doesn't have an audience anymore. The American people are on the side of Stephen Miller and Donald Trump on this issue.
Of course.
And what's going to happen is Jake Tapper, CNN's going to say, we want you to work the overnight shift, and he's going to quit. It's going to happen soon because he's got, first of all, he can't do his show without any Trump people. And when he has Trump people on, he's on the wrong side of the issue and they're beating him.
And he gets emotional about it.
He gets emotional because his feelings are hurt because he thinks he's a good person because he lives in a nice cul-de-sac in D.C. And what's going to happen is his friends in D.C. are going to tell him that he's really talented anyway. He's going to start a Substack and nobody's going to read it. He's going to start a Substack because he thinks he's a thinker. Mm-hmm. But he's not. He's Don Lemon.
He's a
handsome
Anderson. Guy who's on cable news.
Exactly.
And asks questions of people.
Exactly. Yeah. To the cults, Albie.
So I went down a rabbit hole this weekend reading to myself because there was this case. And I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems to me nobody's talking about this. And part of why I brought it up earlier is because this whole thing has to do with people that think they're very smart and find themselves susceptible to believing crazy things. So I'm going to start this story in kind of a weird place, which is that years ago, long before I met you, probably when I was maybe
Were you in a Manson-like cult?
No. But 2010. Okay. So this was published, it says, in 2010. So it must have been around the time I met you.
All right.
Someone told me to read this thing saying it was so interesting and really funny called Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality.
Okay.
And what it is it's a Harry Potter fan fiction that's an alternate universe where Harry's been raised in Age of Enlightenment thinking, and he approaches everything.
So you know I like you, right? And I think you're attractive. Okay. You're on notice.
Okay.
Because this is not just left field here. We are in Harry Potter. I realize that at the Center for Talented Youth, this yarn would have them all.
No, people like that are the type of people who told me to read this. I thought it was really dumb and boring. I could not get through it. I did not find it interesting or smart. So fast forward in time, this thing was written by somebody named Eliezer Yudkowsky, and he's sort of a big shot in AI research. Mm-hmm. And obviously right now AI is having this big moment. He is one of the people who founded this AI research nonprofit in California called the Machine Intelligence Research Institute.
Ooh.
MIRI. I don't know if they just pronounce it MIRI or what, but anyway, this place apparently has now spawned an insane cult. So all these people are these big, and Eliezer Yudkowsky used to have a blog and all this stuff, supposedly called it was called Less Wrong, and all about, being super rational, and we're going to take all our emotions out of our decision making and make super rational decisions about stuff. And it spawned this sort of weird subculture of rationality. This is something that even the Sam Bankman-Fried guy was on the edges of, this sort of California, I am very smart people.
What does rationality mean? I mean, in this sense.
Rationality, it means that they think they're going to make all these decisions in the smartest possible way.
Okay.
Kind of how when Bill Gates gives to charities, he's looking for the ways to make the most possible impact.
Sure. With
the smallest amount of dollars, which is why he does all the Africa mosquito net and AIDS type stuff. Mm-hmm. So these are people who decided that they're very smart and that they can figure out how to do things better than everybody else is doing them. And their AI thing is all about, preparing the world to deal with the AI singularity that's going to change everything, and dealing with the risks of AI and all this stuff. So obviously this is having a moment because AI has just gotten huge.
Right.
But what also seems to be having a moment is this weird cult that has spawned off from it, which is this person called Ziz, who used to work at MIRI, or MIRI. I don't even know how they say it because I've only read about it online. Like I said, I went down this huge, crazy rabbit hole, and no one's talking about this, even though this is nuts and in the news, right? This guy named Ziz, who thought he was a girl, so he's a trans woman.
Mm-hmm.
She also wrote a rationality self-improvement blog called sinceriously.fyi, which is now taken down from the internet but is preserved on various like internet archives. Came up with all these theories of the brain, convinced one person that was a big follower of theirs that they were trans in one hemisphere of their brain but not the other, and they ended up killing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so now they have this cult called Zizians. A bunch of them, if not all of them, I'm not even sure, are trans. And they're murdering people. This border control agent who was murdered in Vermont just recently, the two people in the car who started this shootout with him were Zizians, and they were both trans, and they're both followers of this weird cult.
Wow.
And so one of them was a German national. So apparently and Vermonters, fact check me on this, it's tough to get to make people suspicious about you carrying a firearm in Vermont.
Sure.
A lot of people carry firearms. Nobody's generally calling the authorities about you carrying a firearm in Vermont. But apparently these people were dressed all in tactical gear and carrying firearms in a disturbing enough way that people reported them to the authorities, who began watching them. And it culminated in this Vermont Border Patrol agent and a bunch of other officers confronting them at a traffic stop. The guy is a German national who should not have been in a possession of a firearm at the United States. They were supposedly trying to buy property in Vermont. They are involved with a third person who's not named in the media yet, who apparently is living in Vermont currently. But they're also in trouble for 2 other murders. Well, 3, I suppose, because one's a double murder in Pennsylvania, which is one of the cult members' parents. And who were supposedly, I assume, mean to them for being in a cult and being trans or whatever. I don't know. But and then another one is one of their landlords in California, who they stabbed with a katana.
Is it katana?
It's a Japanese sword.
Is that with the 3 prongs?
No, it's a Japanese sword, like a long, thin, carved sword.
Like a samurai sword?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I can't figure out why the media is not talking about the fact that this Border Patrol agent was murdered, and it's like part of a pattern of murders by this cult. This is like a Manson thing.
Yeah.
That they're out here just going around murdering people, and they're like people of interest in a bunch of different murders, and they're so now the German guy's dead. He was shot in the shootout with the Border Patrol agent. It sounds like from the reporting, the Border Patrol agent was probably killed by friendly fire, by the way they're talking about it. But and then there's this girl
blame that on the Zizians anyway.
There's this girl who uses like they, them pronouns or something, who was also in the car, who was shooting at them.
Are you suggesting also a correlation between having a massive psychotic self-identifying complex and being a crazy violent person?
Well, I think in this particular case, these are a bunch of like supposedly really smart people who have talked themselves into a lather of believing that they're trans, believing these weird like theories about the hemispheres of the brain. And like anytime you get a bunch of people who think they're really smart and you let them like spiral off on their own, they'll come up with crazy stuff.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
So, I mean, that's my opinion. One of those things might be being trans. Another one might be turning into insane murderers. I don't know. But I can't believe that like people aren't talking about this weird cult more, because it's crazy that it's out here. The chick who was the one in the car had a Twitter. Like a bunch of them were on Twitter and stuff. Yeah. So I'm fascinated by it. And like I say, like I went way down the rabbit hole and was reading all this stuff about them and how they got founded. And then I realized they were part of this same rationality movement originally, which is like crazy. So anyway.
God for the Zizians. We'll be watching the Zizians.
Or I will, anyway.
You will. All right, Albie. You ready?
for our big chat today?
Absolutely.
I was born ready.
So somebody has been, it is no doubt that Jennifer has been, she made quite an impression with her recollection of all sorts of different clubs, etc. yesterday. And part of it jumped out.
Hi, Alice and
It's
Tom.
right around
It's
here. So see if I can-
Jennifer from beautiful Lawrence, Mass. In a Burma Berlin Ale lift to the Oxford Ale House, where we were most assuredly assured of getting laid that night.
So that is gotten some responses. We haven't listened to these, but in the slugs, we can tell that people have questions. So keep that in mind. We're going to go through an order here, regardless. Jennifer, who broke the rule, by the way, went 1 minute and 53 seconds in, but
everyone wanted to hear it.
Yes, that is. If you've got something like that to bring to the table, then yes, that is fine. There's a waiver, diplomatic immunity.
Hey, Alice and Tom, this is Dana from Maine.
Hey, Dana.
Just wanted to leave a message about J.D. Vance, and I didn't really know this guy. Obviously, a lot of people didn't. I heard of him, getting in the Senate and all that, and
yes,
the hillbilly elegy and all that. But how impressive is this guy?
Awesome.
He seems just relatively normal, extremely intelligent, and when I hear him in these interviews, or if I know he's going to have an interview, I have to listen to it because it's just so damn funny. Everyone's trying to, stump him on any questions like the one about...
He toys with these cupcakes and the sundaes. He just toys with them.
Margaret Brennan asking about, a bunch of things, including, the price of eggs and all that crap. And I just think a few years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, I don't think there's anyone behind Trump that can do anything. And now I do think the bench is pretty deep. But
totally.
J.D. Vance, oh my God, that guy is unreal. What do you guys think? I think you feel the same way, but I haven't heard you guys talk about him as much as there's so much stuff going on anyways, just with Trump. But anyways, hope you guys are well.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, we're big J.D. Vance fans. I made the kids watch the movie about him.
Right.
Like, I think he's really, really just inspiring and great.
Yeah.
But I think there's a broader point here, too, that he brings up about the bench. The thing is being successful breeds a bench. Having a successful presidency and doing stuff that people like causes you to have a bench. Biden doesn't have a bench, not because there weren't, speaking of people who think that they're really smart, not because there weren't people excited to serve in his administration and do stuff like Pete Buttigieg and all other people who've been told they're really smart. Kamala Harris has been told she's really smart, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
She has fancy law degrees and all sorts, very successful, all sorts of stuff, right? All these people supposedly worked for the Biden administration, but the Biden administration was a disaster. So there's no bench because who's going to hire anybody who was a part of creating that mess?
I totally agree.
You can't have a bench if you suck.
And there should be something else that's said about J.D. Vance, and I'll say the same thing about Hegseth. These are both guys, who it's almost unfair because they're both kind of alphas.
Mm-hmm.
Both grew up a bit heterodox, and both brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair that Hegseth is brilliant because he's good looking and he's an alpha jock kind of dude. And he went to an Ivy League school, and he's just that kind of guy is just a winner. And Vance is the same thing. Yeah. I knew nothing about him.
It's funny because one of the things that people brought up when Vivek did his whole bit with, everybody watched Saved by the Bell, and that's why Americans are lazy and stupid and want to be jocks and not smart kids. The actual truth of the matter is that jocks on average are smarter than other people.
That's interesting.
That being good at stuff and being dedicated to work hard, it requires the same stuff whether you're in the gym or whether you're a rocket scientist. That those types of people tend to do well.
How many jocks were at the Center for Talented Youth?
Probably some. I didn't hang out with them, but people there played sports and stuff, but I didn't. But But the honest truth of the matter is that like kids who do sports get better grades, and it's something I talk to our kids about all the time. That because they'll try something and complain that it's hard or they can't learn it or everybody else is better than me at XYZ. Almost everything requires work to be good at it.
Right. And I guess that's the characteristic, is to have delayed gratification.
Yeah. It's a really big thing.
Yeah.
And the delayed gratification, the willingness to work hard to overcome hurdles, those capabilities are things that are bred by learning to succeed in sports and learning to succeed in other fields too. And the truth is that, being smart and good at stuff is a skill set that translates across different fields far more than people want to believe. There's this sort of myth, and it sneaks into education, and teachers say it to kids all the time. Some people are good at this, some people are good at that, some people are good at math, some people are good at reading. The fact is that English class grades and math class grades are correlated. Not everybody who's great in math class is also great in English class, but in general, the people who do better in math class also do better in English class and vice versa. And then there's Tom Shattuck, who does well in neither one. Do you know what I'm saying? But the kids at your high school who got great grades,
I say et cetera.
But do you know what I mean? Like, there's not kids who are getting an A+ in chemistry and are failing English. I mean, I assume there's probably some, but in general, people who do well across a variety of fields.
As it turns out, my talents lay elsewhere.
True. You're a radio broadcaster. That's your talent.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But that's the thing. That's the lie we tell kids, is that, you're good at one thing and little Johnny's good at something else. That's not true. What's true is that you can learn to be good at most things if you try. It just requires work that you don't feel like doing right now.
I listened to KMS on Monday, and I thought Justin was a little too overdramatic when it came to the earthquake and what they felt in the studio.
Yep.
But after hearing the start of the burn barrel,
if you don't know, Justin is the producer of the Kirk Minahan Show, where Steve and I both listen.
I need to apologize to Justin because, Alice, you took the cake. I mean, really, I think you need to curb your enthusiasm a little bit when it came to that earthquake. I know the blood pressure goes up a little bit. You get a little too excited when something like that happens. But in reality, it's no different than a truck driving down the street. Everything shakes a little bit, but it's not a big deal. And trust me, this comes from firsthand experience. I was at my house in Sicily once. We had an earthquake to the point where the pictures were falling off the wall, and the plates were falling from the cupboards and breaking. So that's something to really get worked up over. What happened the other day wasn't a big deal.
Here we go. Steve dealt with Pompeii. Meanwhile, you and the alumni from the CTY are all, I was victimized too. Oh, your house shakes. So it shakes when I walk in it. There are places I don't walk in this house.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Okay. But
Tom, when you read that rant by that Democrat,
yes,
this is on you.
Yep.
It's on you. All of this is on you. These are the same people who just throw their hands in the air when crap goes bad because of their own policies.
Yep.
And they just go, oh, geez, I guess it's just the way we're going to have to live.
Exactly. Exactly, Dr. Cheswick. It's funny because that was the own it thing. It's like, oh, well, it was a time of confusion during COVID. Oh, really? Oh, so there's no pay.
There's no owning it.
You don't have to own that at all. That's okay. Oh, I see. Because it was confusing. Oh, I wasn't confused.
They don't want to take control of their lives. Maura Healey threw her hands in the air when she started spending our rainy day fund and then the COVID rainy day fund. And now we are actually broke. But she went to Washington to ask for federal money from our own congressional people, and they just threw their hands in the air and said, it's not our problem, it's your problem.
This is like we owe them $2 billion, right? The Fed or something. Do you think that Trump's going to prioritize collecting that VIG? I will say he will. Yes, that is not going to be forgiven debt.
But there's no accountability. You're right, Alice. You want to hit these people with a shovel to try to knock sense into them. It's just incredible how they just eschew any kind of responsibility for anything they do, but when it comes to someone else cracking into them about and putting down laws and actually setting up boundaries, they then freak out. It's just amazing. Yes, Tom, Mission of Burma, terrific band.
Here we go.
Yeah, I was around for a lot of that. I saw a bunch of bands that. Was it Jennifer? I can't remember her name. I went to a bunch of those places. I remember them. And at Mission of Burma, they actually had a guy who would record parts of the songs and while they were playing, and then he would loop it back, and he would be listening on a 4-track tape recorder.
That's
amazing. It was amazing. It was
wow.
It was so far ahead of its time.
How cool.
Oh, great band. 152.
You guys probably all hooked up with Jennifer.
I did very little hooking up, so I can tell you Jennifer was safe for me. Here we go.
Sounds like you all ran in the same circles.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Tom, Inigo Montoya, the Prepare to Die guy, is not in John Carpenter's They Live.
Yes, he is, dude. That's Mandy Patinkin. That's the same guy. Yes.
I don't know where you came up with that, because the two leads are Rowdy Roddy and Keith David, a black man.
No, dude, you are. Oh, this is going to be fun.
I don't know who you're thinking of,
this
but
is
it's
gonna
not
be fun.
that guy.
It's Mandy freaking Patinkin. They Live. Mandy Patinkin. He's age 72 from Chicago.
He's a tenor.
Mandy Patinkin.
That's great.
Okay, it's not immediately coming up, but hold on right here. They Live cast. Hold on. Prepare to eat it, Steve.
He's in a movie called Life Itself.
They Live. Mandy Patinkin. Here we go. Prepare to eat it. Okay.
No.
They may not have put that in his official They Live cast.
Yeah, they probably left it out, I think. That sounds right.
Live. There's no way this is not true.
Tommy in New Hampshire says Tom wrong again.
Piper, Keith David, Meg Foster, Peter Jason, Buck Flower, Larry Franklin. He's in the second row of people. Norman Alden.
Maybe just let it go. Why did you think that?
It's not possible. Mandy Patinkin is in They Live. I know this. I've been told this. I was surprised by this.
Did you watch the movie?
Yes, I did. I saw it in my house in Winchester as a teenager.
I've never heard of the movie, to be honest with you. So
there's no way this is not. No, this is no. He is in the freaking movie. I remember him. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there he goes. Just showed it. Mandy Patinkin. He was the second build. It was a big controversy over who's in the top building, him or Rowdy Piper. Rowdy Piper. Who actually I saw at the Boston Garden in a steel cage match fight San Martino. Do you know the San Martinos?
No.
Tom, your girl Sandy Cortez is absolutely beautiful. She's a stunner, no questions asked. But can you admit that she might be a little fraudulent? Now she's talking about the price of coffee and eggs.
Oh,
now she's doing it because of President Trump.
I'm all for it.
Where was she last year, 2 years ago? The prices of coffee and eggs were still high and maybe higher under President Biden. She didn't say word one. Now she's talking about coffee and eggs?
Sandy,
what a fraud.
She is obviously a fraud, but she is beautiful. She'd be so good in a date to just feel her breath and to talk to her and look at her beautiful eyes and etc. And she'd be obviously gorgeous, olive-skinned, gorgeous, dark, raven-haired thing would be obviously in a sack would be fantastic. Can we agree, Alice?
I'm not going to weigh in.
Now that said, that period after the sack, when she decides to opine and talk about her worldview as if she's a member of the Center for Talented Youth, that is not good. I don't think that would be good. I'm only working blue because Jennifer has set the precedent.
So that's what this show is now?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Did anyone else think that was an AI Jennifer from Lawrence that left that message? I got to tell you, it knocked me for a loop there. She went blue.
I know.
I mean, the image I had in my head of Jennifer, based on her previous messages and everything, just went totally out the window.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, she liked Mission of Burma. That was a good band.
Yeah.
Tom, that's when I reached for my revolver. That's the great Mission of Burma song. But man, when she talked about getting down and dirty, I was like, maybe Jennifer is the original Donna.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Could be.
Anybody else think that?
Steve, you make a great point.
you.
The entire Jennifer Intel file has to be shredded. And we have to start from scratch. Who the hell knew?
Good morning, Tom and Alice.
Oh, here we go.
Jennifer here from beautiful Lawrence.
Jennifer, their families do listen to this. You have certainly piqued the interest of many, many people who have reached out to us.
Just wanted to make a little addendum about the Oxford Ale House.
Uh-huh.
It was on Church Street in Cambridge.
Church Street?
Just before all
the theater, the Brattle Theater, is that where that is?
The big goings on in Harvard Square, before the Verst House.
The Verst House, which I actually took a woman on a date and only plied her with beers. And she said, she was lovely. And she said, are you going to feed me and all? And I was like, I didn't know what to do.
You still don't feed people on dates.
No.
Even today.
And before Grendel's Den.
Grendel's Den, loved it. That might still be there. That's downstairs. It used to be downstairs.
And it might have been on the same street as the Passim.
Club Passim.
But I did not go to the Passim.
Okay, it's a jazz bar, Alice. Jennifer, you are showing yourself to be directly in my...
I'm telling you, you probably hooked up with her.
You are directly in my circle and in my geography, and I assume now in my age range?
To the Oxford Ale House.
Don't remember that.
To have a scotch on the rocks and get lucky.
Jesus, Jennifer! What is this glitch that's happening? Did I hear that?
House. To
Okay,
have
hold on.
a scotch on the rocks and...
Hold on. I am going tonight to the Oxford Ale House, if this place is still open.
But I did not go to the Passim. I went to the Oxford Ale House to have a scotch on the rocks and get lucky. Good times. I think there's a Border Cafe there now, which is a total
We've
travesty.
Been to that Border Cafe, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, loved it. Have the best day.
I now officially do not understand human nature or people at all. I do not get it. I did not know that women go to the Oxford Ale House to have a scotch in the rocks, which also is a ballsy drink, and get lucky. I did not know that women considered it getting lucky for them.
I still don't.
No, you've not been lucky. Every time you're with me is unlucky for you. I don't know.
Mark in the chat says he remembers the Oxford Ale House.
Okay.
Except he calls it the Oxford Stale House. Which sounds like not flattering.
No, I don't. I probably have been. I mean, obviously, I've been to all those other places. This is a shocker, Alice. Lucky? Where does this happen? Other ladies who listen, do you go for a scotch in the rocks and try to get lucky? This happened in the 90s and I was nowhere. I killed for this. This is why I was alive in the 90s, to go out to see if hopefully somebody was having a scotch in the rocks. Oh my goodness.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Is anyone else seeing these recurring memes or recurring posts on social media talking about how the price of eggs and the price of gas haven't gone down since Donald Trump took office? It's really mind-boggling and annoying.
Well, Steve, they don't know what to think anymore. They have no answers. They don't know what to do. They're all like militants now. They're all in the Symbionese Liberation Army now, fighting ICE people. These rich suburban moms. Nobody knows who to be anymore, at all.
And I've reminded several of these people, and of course I've been pilloried for it, that hey, Donald Trump handed Joe Biden 1.4% inflation, and it took Joe a year and a half to get it up to 9.1. So give it some time. Thank you.
Here.
Yeah, remember then it was transitory for like a really long time. It was all transitory. And that first summer in 2020, they were telling us the prices went down. Remember when they told us we were all saving 16 cents on our 4th of July barbecue?
That was
or whatever.
Remember the KJP was the spokesperson for that, the messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So or that was I guess 2021. And then
Thanks,
and then
Peter, for asking the question, like off the top of my head. Ooh, Trapper, here you go. Off the top of my head.
Hot dogs now are $1.97 for it was embarrassing. And then they kept saying transitory, and then like Steve says, by 2022, by the next summer, it was like 9-10%.
Oh, right. And then they'd be like, well, inflation didn't tick up this quarter. So there you go, you see?
Hey guys, John the car.
Hey John.
Just piggybacking on something you said about Maura Healey yesterday. Another reason why she's doing the colossal flip-flop on the migrant situation is because Trump is doing her a tremendous favor. He's bailing her out of an untenable situation. She's completely backed herself into a corner by having to fund, the great sanctuary state of Massachusetts.
Yes.
With the migrants and the hotels and the EBT cards and the dry cleaning and the 3 hots a day. She has no solution on how to get out from under it.
You're right. And part of it,
Trump,
even though it's the end of the state and we're all going to die, part of it is freaking delicious. I'm sorry.
Is removing them physically from the situation. So she is happy to see ICE come in and kick ass. So just my thoughts about that.
Yeah.
Minute 9.
Well, certainly it is something that it will help to resolve her situation, and she can pretend to be the resistance, but at the same time, it's such a dishonorable position in a weak, inglorious showing of themselves.
But it is funny because, like you were saying about the people on social media, like they don't know what to do now because their leaders are not resisting the fascists.
No.
And so they're like, what are all the Democrats doing? I think I sent you Shannon Watts is on Twitter being like, the Democrats have given up the party. We need to call them every day and tell them to resist fascism. Bah, 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 bah. Like, because they've drunk the Kool-Aid and they can't stop themselves. They think that we're literally under a threat of rising fascism and that the Democrats aren't doing anything about it because the Democrats are they were just making that up.
Yes, the Democrats are giving up the party. Well, mostly the Democrats are at Trump's inauguration party and they're drunk and dancing. So, sorry. That's just how it is. I should have thought of that.
How ironic, learning that Uncle Jimmy lives on a houseboat.
Yes.
Yet, when it rains, the Tom and Alice abode gets more water than his. Jimmy had like 5 different holes below the water line.
That is true.
Patch that shit up, would you?
It is patched up. We are patched up. Thanks to our friends at Eagle Rivet, by the way, Alice. We're fantastic. Thank God. Thank God so many people take pity on us, Alice. We'd have none of this equipment here. We'd have the house would be submerged.
Look at your kingdom that you rule. Over.
It's actually. Why are you laughing? Something funny? This is what you thought your future would be when you were a Lexington debutante, right? Someday I'm going to have to. I want to live with a man in a house where any asset worth over $10 is donated. Something funny? You stop that? Why are you waving?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Hey guys, John the car again.
Hey John.
Tom, that club, the old Bun Ratties, became Local 186.
That's right.
And then went on to become the Wonder Bar.
Yes, it became a kind of douchey jazz bar, and that was the end of the rock and roll.
But, dude, Local 186 in its day was one of the coolest clubs in Boston.
Totally, man. Totally.
Such a cool hang.
Yeah.
Saw tons of bands that went on.
Why are you laughing still, Alice?
Still not over it.
Can you stop doing this to me? Yeah, John. That whole area, man. Give me Great Scots too. There was another great spot. That whole place. I actually, when I met Alice, I was living back there. I was 37 at the time. I had a relationship with a woman in Belmont, whatever, and I moved. Even though I lived there in that area when I was 21, and even in 94, 95, 93, whatever, I moved back as an old guy. And I still love the energy of that area. That was so great. Now, freaking most of the places are gone.
What was that, Summit Ave?
Well, that's where I lived on Summit Ave. But we're talking here about Comm and where Blanchard's is. Is it JFK? No, Harvard Ave. Comm and Harvard.
And I too was at that Weezer show.
Hey!
And I had never even heard of them before.
Yep.
And walked into that show to see. We were seeing the opening band, ironically, friends of ours, and oh my God, just blew us away.
Totally.
So, yep, Wonder Bar, Local 186.
Yeah. Sunset Grill and Tap. Oh, so many great places there. Riley's Roast Beef. My brother was a big Riley's Roast Beef guy. He was a line waiter, so he would get a bunch of food. On those rare occasions where we didn't hook up with ladies, we would just eat roast beef sandwiches. I do miss that area. Maybe I'll go hang. I can pass, right?
What a great call from Jennifer and Lawrence.
Yep.
Unbelievably good taste in music. Couldn't agree more about Mission of Burma. Brings back memories of going to the channel. Remember the rumor that someone walked out the back door there and fell right into the channel and died? Anyway, my only regret is I wish I had gone to that Oxford Inn that Jennifer had mentioned.
No kidding. Who knew? Damn it, I want my 20s back. I'm going to start all over. I didn't know that was a thing, that you'd have a scotch on the rocks, and that was a sign that I was... Then again, I had no game, because I would just lie about everything, because I couldn't be me, because there was no me. There was nothing to me. I had nothing. All lies.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Keep the messages coming. What a great chat. Sorry I missed it yesterday with you guys. But we'll be back tomorrow. Excited. I'm in Boston tomorrow again.
You're not going to the Oxford Inn?
Ale House?
Oxford Ale House, right?
It wasn't on my agenda, but should I check it out?
Yeah, have a scotch. Check it out.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you want to join us for the live chat and stuff like that, patreon.com/burnbarrel. If you like listening for free, burnbarrelpodcast.com has a spot to leave the messages and all links to different podcast apps.
C'est la vie.